Hello and welcome to Good Morning Transfers. The Premier League returns tonight as Burnley take on the champions Manchester City. Other clubs have until midday today to get players registered in time for their opening games, but there is still loads of time left in the window to get the deals done, isn't there? We have such a busy show today. Harry Kane is waiting for permission from Tottenham to fly to Munich for his Bayern medical. Liverpool have agreed a British transfer record fee of £111 million for Moises Caicedo. There is so much to talk about in the company of Flex, of Harriet Pryor, and of Zach Jellab as well. You all right, guys? Busy morning.
Good, thank you.
Yeah. A little bit.
What's going on?
Very busy. Very busy.
Right, before we get to the guys, first, let's bring you right up to date with Harry Kane's future. Waiting to speak to us is Gary Cottrell, who's at the club's training ground. Gary, a busy morning for you. Brilliant to see you. All sorts of developments this morning. Just bring us up to date. What's the latest?
Yeah, fluid, I think, is the word. Listen, things can change quickly when Harry Kane's on a football pitch, and things can change pretty quickly when he's off a football pitch as well. This saga continues to change. Developments yesterday, developments overnight, developments already, several of them this morning. I'll try and bring you up to date exactly where we are as we know it. And I understand as well, by the way, that Harry himself is watching. He's got good taste. So, hello, Harry. And if I'm wrong about any of this, please let me know. Yesterday, we know that Tottenham agreed a deal with Bayern Munich, around 85 million, with obtainable add-ons getting into the 100 million. So a deal that starts with one, which makes Daniel Levy happy, makes Bayern Munich happy, because they'll get their man. Then we heard that Harry Kane still hadn't finally decided that that was the move that he wanted. He was erring towards staying at Tottenham. Then overnight, it was agreed that he was going to go. He does want to go to Bayern Munich. He agreed personal terms, wages of around £21 million a year before tax, around £11 million a year after tax, a 4-year deal. Then we heard he was on his way to an airport in a car to get on a plane to fly to Munich to have his medical. All that was this morning, to sign on the dotted line and do the media photographs and potentially play in the Super Cup final against Leipzig tomorrow evening. But a fly in the ointment, because Daniel Levy, Tottenham Hotspur, haven't given formal permission for Harry Kane to get on that plane and to fly to complete the deal. They're looking at apparently a game with a fine-tooth comb at the deal, just looking at some of the monies involved. And as we stand at the moment, Harry Kane is ready to fly, got his bags packed, but can't quite fly at the moment until Daniel Levy gives him the say-so, gives him the green light. So here we are, still with drama after drama in this Harry Kane deal. But it does look, all things being equal, if things can be all equal in this saga, that Harry Kane, by the end of today, certainly by tomorrow, will be a Bayern Munich player.
Gary, I just actually bring you a line that Paul Gilmore has just sent in while you've been speaking to us. He said that Tottenham Hotspur have told Sky Sports News that Harry Kane does have permission to travel for his medical and to sort out his personal terms. So they say that their agreement with Bayern Munich remains in place. That hasn't changed, but he does have permission. So look, this feels like it could be completed fairly quickly now.
Yeah, so probably there is Harry now switching off Sky Sports News and heading out the door. We understand he was somewhere near the airport he intends to fly from. It'll be a private jet, of course. It's already standing by, so things do seem to be moving pretty quickly. One wag suggested to me down here at the training ground that Daniel Levy may be delaying things slightly, so that it means that Harry Kane couldn't pull on the boots for the Super Cup game tomorrow and therefore wouldn't win a trophy within a day of leaving Tottenham Hotspur. I'm not sure that's the case, but certainly now it seems that official permission has been given and Harry Kane is on his way. If he does play tomorrow, great. If he doesn't, then the first game he will be involved in is the Bundesliga opener against Werder Bremen, which is available to watch on Sky Sports. Harry Kane, who came here as an 11-year-old for the sake of wanting to win trophies and for another £11 million a year after tax, has decided to leave Tottenham after a career here, man and boy. How they're going to replace the 30 goals he scored last season, all the goals he scores on a regular basis after season, all the assists as well. Well, that's now the question for Tottenham Hotspur and for Daniel Levy. And of course, there'll be a news conference here looking forward to the Brentford game, which is on Super Sunday later on today. So we'll hear from the coaching staff exactly how they feel about all these latest developments. But yeah, it looks like this saga finally drawing to a close. And next time we see Harry Kane maybe at an airport getting on a plane, maybe at an airport getting off a plane, or it may be him posing in the red of Bayern Munich.
Yeah, interesting times. Gary Cottrell, thanks for now. I mean, guys, it's been a crazy morning already, because we came in this morning around 6 o'clock thinking we were reaching a conclusion. Looks like we are now, but Flex, there have been so many twists and turns already.
It's nearing the end, and as we're live now, getting that confirmation from the Spurs hierarchy to say actually Harry Kane does have the permission to travel, because you know in the lead up to this we can see what happened sort of overnight and obviously what we'd heard yesterday. But it was still set for more of limbo. He can't quite leave yet. There's finer details. Did Daniel Levy sort of see what happened with Moises Caicedo and say, I want some more money for Harry Kane, let's up it? That seems like a quite a shrewd bit of business for Daniel Levy to do. Maybe that's why it was on hold, but now we get the green light right out of Spurs. So it's nearing the end, and now we're starting to understand, actually, what the primary motivational factor for Harry Kane is, because for how long has it been? How long is he going to stay at Spurs? What's his legacy going to look like if he doesn't win? We're talking about the record goal scorer from Alan Shearer. Does he want to stay in England to break that? Why does he want to do that? Surely he should want to win. He doesn't want to end his career with no trophies. That's the one thing that Alan Shearer does have over him as well, not just the goals record, but a Premier League title in the bag. And now, heading to Bayern Munich, OK, of course, they came close to maybe not winning the league last year on the last day of the season. But if he's signing a 4-year deal plus one, means that we're talking about that 5 years out there in Germany. Pretty safe to say at least 4 titles in the bag. You would think maybe a Champions League along the way, probably want that German Cup. So now Harry Kane's legacy is looking completely different to what it once was.
Yeah, talking about legacy, it feels like we've talked sort of forever about Harry Kane and him winning things. I know for you, you've been on the side of, look, this is a brilliant move for him.
Well, yeah, 100%, completely. I think the thing that's always been said about Harry Kane during his whole career is trophies, and everybody's accepted he's one of the world's best strikers. He can score the goals. He's just not got the silverware to match. Someone of his record, you'd expect to have so much silverware, and unfortunately, he doesn't as of yet. I mean, I don't quite know how the German rules work, but for instance, Bayern Munich are playing RB Leipzig in the Super Cup this weekend.
That's what Gary was saying.
Theoretically, he could win He could win the first one straight away. I mean, this is completely understandable. He's also joining a team as well. We forget the talent they've got there in Bayern Munich. Jamal Musiala, Gnabry, Sane that we've seen in the Premier League. They've got Thomas Tuchel as manager, who we've seen as a fantastic cup manager. We saw him win the Champions League with Chelsea. We also saw him make it to the finals of several domestic cup competitions. It would not shock me if Harry Kane was in a final by the end of this season and lifting another piece of silverware as well. And so it's all about that silverware. And look, I think we forget sometimes how big Bayern Munich is. In terms of like the world, Bayern Munich is one of the top 5 clubs out there, one of the biggest clubs in the world out there. And I mean, it's definitely a huge step up to go and play for them as well. And so you can completely understand his goals and reaching his aspirations that he's had for his entire career.
On the other side of it, I think a lot of us maybe assumed and expected that he'd end up staying at Spurs, because you could have understood why.
Yeah, I'm going to try and give the Tottenham side of things the argument to stay off the plane. Gary was saying, is he on the plane? Is he off the plane? Maybe some fans will be looking at this and thinking, look, I know it's another transition. I know it's a difficult argument to say he should wait and see how another transition goes. But the early signs do show that there's a really good relationship between Postecoglou and Kane. It also shows that in pre-season, that relationship on the pitch between Maddison and Kane has been developing really nicely. So Tottenham fans might think, OK, let's give it a year. You can go anywhere you want in the world next year. You've only got one more season left. So it's not their money. So they're thinking, I want to watch the best players in the world play at Tottenham. And he is definitely one of the best players in the world. So do they think, OK, let's just keep him here for another year? So that's that side of things. And then also, of course, as Flex touched on earlier, that goal-scoring record, that is the other massive argument for him to stay in the Premier League, to really go and reach that. We know how much that means to him. And we can see here, that he's not all that far off Shearer, and that he probably would surpass that if he stayed, another season. So I can see both sides of things, but for him now, he's maybe thinking, I want that new challenge. I want to go and win trophies. I want that certainty. I don't want to wait and sit through another transitionary period, and I completely understand that. But for Tottenham fans, they'll be thinking, we've not only lost someone who's scoring 30 goals in the Premier League last season, we're losing our captain, we're losing a leader, we're losing someone who's such a vital part of that dressing room. And from a sentimental perspective as well, someone who's come up through the academy, spent their entire career as a Tottenham player. So it's just really difficult for them to come to terms with this one, when the possibility of him staying another year, and maybe them even convincing him to sign a new contract next year, may have still been on the cards. But I do completely understand why it's the right time for him to go at 30 years old and to win some trophies.
When you look at the business side of stuff, because we'll talk about the Tottenham side of stuff and the sentiment in a minute that Harriet's touched on. But I mean, business side, they've got a massive fee for him.
Absolutely.
Which is, a massive bonus. But then I suppose, like Harriet said, you can't help but look at it and think, well, he just struck up this partnership with James Maddison, hopefully coming into this new season with the new manager and Ange Postecoglou as well. And maybe that sort of hard work they've done in pre-season has kind of just been undone now. It
has, but there's a lot of, like, this situation's multifaceted, because now is the time for Harry Kane to put Harry Kane first. He was denied that move to Manchester City, and look at that time to now, what he potentially would have won at Manchester City. If you're Harry Kane since then, with the trophies that Manchester City have won since then if you add in the goals that Haaland scored last year, he probably looks at that all the time and think, that could have / should have been me. Not this time. I'm putting myself first, and I need to do this for me. I owe Tottenham, and I mean this with the greatest of respect, nothing now, because I've given them everything that I could have possibly done. So absolutely, for him, it's a personal. But if you look at it from a Spurs perspective, this is a player that they blocked moving a couple of seasons ago for significant money, similar to this fee here. Got another couple of years out of him. OK, it didn't quite go to plan, but they managed to see where that could lead to. He stayed through 3 more managers, I think, in that time, if I'm not mistaken. And now they come out of it of a player that potentially they could have lost for free if they didn't cash in now. And now they have the best part of £100 million to reinvest into that squad, which in the past...
They need to reinvest properly.
Exactly, they need to reinvest. They need to reinvest properly. And if we look back to 2013, when Gareth Bale went for the best part of £85 million, and how they invested that money for the 7 players there, as we can see on our screen, Nasser Chadli, Soldado, Etienne Capoue...
This is a throwback, isn't it?
Real throwback. Christian Eriksen, probably the pick of the bunch there. Paulinho there. And Eric Lamela. I mean, that's historically goes down as, they didn't use that money to the best of their ability, and the players that they brought in to replace Gareth Bale didn't all quite work out. Christian Eriksen maybe, obviously, is in a different ballpark there. So they've got to get this right. Time-wise, there's still time, not ideal, but they've got a significant amount of funds through the door, and this is a new dawn for Tottenham. Completely new type of manager, completely different to the likes of Jose Mourinho and Antonio Conte, complete different style of play, and which we're going to talk about surely now is how they're going to play, who's going to score the goals, a completely different era without Harry Kane, so with money to spend.
That's the one thing I would say quickly, though, is that there is a sense of clarity now, and Postecoglou can look at this and say, this is wrapped up.
It's late, but
But you actually do look at some of the attacking options that Tottenham have in that squad. They've got Son, obviously Richarlison. A lot of people are saying, will he step up to the plate and be able to replace some of what Kane bought? Kulusevski as well, Maddison's come in. They actually do have a lot of attacking options and a lot of attacking talent as well. Of course, it's a really difficult player to replace. And I think the one thing Tottenham fans are looking at is you're not only replacing the goals, but all the build-up play, all the creativity. There's so much to Kane's game that you actually can't probably replace it just bringing in someone else. It does leave him with a lot of work to do, and just days before the season starts, it all kicks off again this weekend. However, I do think there will be a sense of relief from Postecoglou in the Tottenham side of things, that we know what's happening now. We know
finally we've got an answer.
Finally we have an answer. Let's move forward now. Let's look ahead. Let's build for the future. This is finished now. Kane's era at Tottenham is coming to an end, and as sad as that will be, it's time to look forward and look ahead to the future. And
if you are
success.
Bringing someone else in, or more than one player, I mean, what are even the options?
It's interesting. I think what they did,
are there options?
What they did after the Gareth Bale move made a lot more sense. I think it's what we've seen other clubs try as well. Once a key player is gone, it's tough to replace somebody that is essentially irreplaceable. Especially with Harry Kane, you're looking for someone that's not just a goal scorer, you're looking also for your best creative player, along with your leader and experience. That's impossible. But with £100 million or so, you're not going to be buying the 8 or so players that Spurs got there, but you might be able to get 3, possibly, if you spend it pretty well. And maybe that is a creative player, a goal scorer, and somebody that has the experience there to also help that attack as well. They already have Kulusevski. They already have Richarlison. They've still got Heung-min Son as well. So they have players there that can fill into those positions, and maybe we see Richarlison finally take that striker mould as well. He didn't really get that many minutes last season. I think just over 1,000 Premier League minutes. And so they spent 60 million on him last season. They're going to obviously want to get their money's worth from him as well. I think it's just about spending this money wisely, doing obviously a lot of scouting. The issue is there's not that long left in the window. We've seen with the big time over there, 21 days. And so ideally, if this move had happened maybe a month earlier or 2 weeks earlier, there would have felt like there's a bit more time to kind of do your scouting and do your reports and find out how to fix this situation. Because right now, I think it's going to be quite tough. And the other thing is, everybody knows how much money you've got now, and so that it will increase as well.
And the striker market as well. The striker market. We've seen other Premier League clubs looking in to sign someone this window, and it's been particularly hard to bring someone in, and particularly with the level of experience Harry Kane has. You're just not going to find a like replacement. I know some of the names they've been linked with do sound excited. Brennan Johnson from Nottingham Forest, I think, is a good option, but definitely not at the levels Kane is. But is anyone going to come in at the levels Kane is? And that is why replacing him with 3 or 4 players, using that fee wisely, is going to be crucial for Tottenham.
It's about using this season more so as like a development season of taking these players
Another
in.
one, though.
That's the thing.
But then also, I think, for Tottenham fans, you've just lost Harry Kane. I think if you're expecting to go in battle for the title, or it's going to be pretty tough. And
what's realistic then?
Realistic for Spurs, I think, would be saying around top 6. If you can try and fight for top 6, I think that would be really impressive, whilst also developing a game plan and a style as well under Ange. Look, right now, Spurs are up against Liverpool, who we'll get onto in time with the amount of money they're spending. They're up against Manchester United, who have spent an incredible amount of money. Brighton, who obviously invest incredibly well. Aston Villa, who look like they are going to be a lot of trouble to play against this season. Chelsea with Pochettino. There's a lot of clubs now that are trying to get into these places, and so I think it's not going to be too easy.
I just think, though, it is important to remember, again, this is for Spurs fans, and we spoke about this yesterday. This is the best, worst scenario. We were talking about in terms of he's not going to another Premier League rival. Manchester United didn't come in, and they're not going to watch Harry Kane at Old Trafford.
It's just the fans' perspective, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
From purely that, it's obviously sad for them to lose Harry Kane, but they've seen this coming for a little while from a couple. Like I said,
I don't think it's sunk in though.
No,
exactly. And actually, for the whole league, it is going to be so weird to not see Harry Kane here.
In the Premier League,
captain playing in another country as well,
well, in and amongst all of this, a little reminder, if you needed it, the Premier League actually starts tonight. Tottenham look like they will be lining up for their first game of the Premier League season, well, without Harry Kane. They face Brentford live on Super Sunday, 1 o'clock. That is before an absolutely huge game at Stamford Bridge as Chelsea take on Liverpool. Talking of Chelsea, talking of Liverpool, well, Harry Kane isn't the only news dominating the transfer news today. Liverpool have agreed a British transfer record fee with Brighton for Moises Caicedo. We'll be discussing that next. Right, time to talk Moises Caicedo now. Just Paul have agreed a British transfer record fee with Brighton for the midfielder. The fee, we understand, is worth £111 million, with Brighton having a sell-on clause as well. Personal terms, they have been agreed, and Caicedo will travel to Liverpool today for a medical. I'll bring you a little bit of context around how this came about. Brighton set a deadline, basically, for midnight last night for bids to come in, and provided that valuation was met, we knew the valuation was 100 mil. Well, they basically were going to go with the highest bidder. Liverpool's offer of £111 million wasn't matched. It's understood that Chelsea were prepared to go up to 100 mil, while Bayern Munich indicated they would pay up to £90 million. A reminder as well for you that Brighton signed Caicedo for £4.5 million from Independiente del Valle just a couple of years ago. I mean, that is insane in itself. But, Harriet, I think the fee is what shocked a lot of people, certainly even Liverpool fans.
I picked a bad day to go to bed early last night, didn't I? It all kicked off. I woke up and Zach broke the news on a WhatsApp group chat.
Tears in my eyes.
This was happening.
It.
The fee is, like you just mentioned, a British transfer record fee. And you have to think, though, all the clubs that were in for him, all the potential that he's got. If a club wanted this player, and you can see here the other record signings by British clubs, and he would move straight to the top of that list. And if a club wanted this player, they were going to have to pay above the odds to get him. Brighton absolutely in dreamland in this situation, because they knew that Bayern Munich wanted him, they knew that Chelsea wanted him, they knew that Liverpool wanted him. They said, if you want him, you're going to have to pay for it. And Chelsea, we understand, had a bid of around 100 million, and Liverpool went in higher. And so Liverpool are the ones that it looks like are going to end up with the player. And what a transformative signing this would be for Liverpool. And I think that is why fans will be so excited. And yes, eyebrows will be raised at the fee. But if you're thinking about the kind of player that he is, he's got that really rare balance of Premier League experience, proven Premier League experience, and only 21 years old, so much potential as well. And is exactly the kind of player that Liverpool have been looking for in that number 6 position. I just don't think many thought that the club would pay for him. He's got that ball retention, he performs so well under pressure, he's so good at performing with a cool head. And I think if you look as well at his recovery pace and how he disrupts opposition moves, that's a really key attribute for Liverpool, because sometimes when their fullbacks push really high up the pitch and their defence is a little bit exposed, you need a player in there who's going to be capable of being the last man standing, going to be capable of putting the tackles in, disrupting the opposition when they counter-attack and they're in transition. And he is exactly that. So pass completion as well, 89%. He's just one of the best at ball retention in the league. I'm going to go on about him. I do think he's such an incredible talent, and I understand the fee, and I understand that people will say, is he worth that money? Only time will tell whether he is worth that money. But he's playing alongside McAllister as well. I don't think there's going to be barely any bedding in time. And when Liverpool want a player, we'll come on to this later, they do have a track record of going and getting them. It was nice news to wake up to this morning, and hopefully he proves to be worth the 111 million, if any player can prove to be worth that.
Well, 111 million, this is why some people this morning are probably sitting there scratching their heads, because they're saying, well, hold on a sec, I thought you couldn't pay that kind of money for Jude Bellingham.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things to take into account here. First of all, the fact that Liverpool got fees for both Fabinho and Henderson that were totally unexpected. Henderson, they got 12 million for a player in their 30s. Fabinho, 29. They got 40 million for. That was totally unexpected. So they've basically cashed in on over 50 million on 2 players that were coming towards the end of their Liverpool careers, you'd have to say, even though they were still integral parts of the team. So they raised funds that way, and I don't think that was expected when they were in for Bellingham. Also, the fact that Liverpool didn't get Champions League football. Maybe Bellingham himself just wanted to move to Real Madrid. Obviously, we're uncertain with that, but he might have said, actually, I want to go to Real Madrid. Liverpool's not my option. What can Liverpool do about that? And the fact that his wages would have been very high as well when Liverpool needed a total rebuild. It wasn't just one player. Bellingham wasn't going to be the be-all and end-all solution for Liverpool, so maybe they looked at that as well. So there was a few things that fed into that, but the key one being the fees they got for Henderson and Fabinho that meant they were able to go and spend big on another player.
I mean, Harriet woke up feeling very happy. She's got your message. You woke up pretty much in tears. This is a player
that makes you feel terrible.
Well, I'm sorry, just to put it like that. But I mean, it's kind of true. This is a player that Chelsea have been pursuing the whole summer. Just give us the sort of Chelsea side of things.
I think that's the frustration, is obviously we've seen this happen in front of our eyes now since really the end of the Premier League season. There was talks of Liverpool rumoured at one point, but that the fee was always going to be too much. And then obviously we just spoke about how they were able to afford that. I think the frustration situation with Chelsea is this is a position that has been known has been crucial for the upcoming season. Obviously, we've sold a lot of our senior midfield players. We've seen them move to other clubs like Manchester United, like Manchester City, so on and so forth. And what we've seen with Chelsea's transfer strategy, which could prove very strong in the long term, is by signing a lot of young players who maybe not quite proven just yet, but with a loan move or a little bit of experience somewhere could be the person to fill in the next couple of years. The issue is that Chelsea also want to be a powerhouse this year too, and a guy like Caicedo would have provided that. I think Chelsea always thought that they were going to be able to get this in, or get him for their fee, the fee that they wanted. We originally obviously saw Chelsea go in between 60 and 70 million pounds for him, but with the way the transfer market has gone, and by the likes of Declan Rice going for 100 plus million, we saw for the likes of Enzo Fernandez going for what he went for in January. I think the target was always set there. Pay that fee and we will let you have Caicedo. And eventually Chelsea did obviously put in that bid, but it was just too late. And by that point, obviously Liverpool are here. It's not great, but what Chelsea need to do now is not, see what happens with the situation. I don't know. Maybe there could be a last minute bid. We'll see in time. But also... Maybe that's the optimism. If you're watching, though, it's the optimism in me. But then it's okay. Let's move on to our other targets. We can't get stuck on this one player. It's a shame to miss out on him. It really is. But we've now got to use our scouting. Now got to look into the future for other guys. And look, Poch has spoken about the experience that he wants in the squad, and maybe somebody more experienced is out there.
Yeah, we will look at other sort of options for Chelsea in a bit. We're going to cover more on this potential transfer a little bit later on in the show. We're also going to look at the Brighton side of things. Flex has taken a bit of a deep dive into that, and also how it affects Liverpool's midfield going forward as well. But coming up after the break, West Ham announced their first signing of the summer yesterday, and Edson Alvarez. Could more be on the way? That's coming up after the break. Good Morning Transfers. Time now to recap some of the big stories dominating, well, this morning, but also this window. We can speak to co-host of the Gab and Jules podcast, Julien Laurent. Julien, brilliant to see you. Let's start with the Premier League and the huge story, certainly here today, Harry Kane, who has been given permission from Tottenham to fly to Munich for his Bayern medical. For you personally, do you think this is the right decision for him to leave the club?
Yeah, I can understand why he wanted to go. This is Bayern Munich we're talking about. It's a huge offer, let's be honest, here, between the transfer fee, the contract, the 4-year contract that they're offering him, considering he's just turned 30. As well, it's really rare to have a club, especially Bayern Munich, who've never spent that kind of money, and especially not on someone of his age, to be ready to put that kind of package around you between the fee, the signing on fees, everything, the commissions, plus the wages. We're talking around between 20-25 million pounds a year. It's a lot of money for Harry Kane, but he's worth it, of course, one of the best strikers in the world right now that I think can take his own career to another level with trophies, of course. I mean, we've talked enough about that and the lack of trophies at Spurs, but also take Bayern Munich, again, back to the top, especially in the Champions League, more domination in the Bundesliga for sure. So I can understand. I know he wanted to beat the record. He might still come back in a few years to the Premier League to try to catch Alan Shearer. But for now, I think it makes a lot of sense. And for Spurs, it's a lot of money now to be able to reinvest for Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah, very well said. Another sort of huge story dominating things here on this Friday morning is Moises Caicedo. Liverpool have agreed a British record transfer fee of £111 million to sign the midfielder. I mean, what do you make of that news this morning?
For me, so it's a game changer. And I think if I was a Liverpool fan, or for all the Liverpool fans watching, or even in your studio, you should be very, very happy because, one, I think it was completely unexpected in the sense that we didn't think maybe that Liverpool had that kind of money because I think, as you explained before, Jude Bellingham didn't come. We saw Jamie Carragher, who was not happy with the transfer policy or so the transfer activity recently, and I think rightly so. This changes everything. It changes everything because I think with Caicedo, Liverpool, again, a title contender. There's no doubt that they can compete with Arsenal and Manchester City for the title this season coming. Without him, I think it was difficult. We were still talking about the transition in midfield, the rebuild of that midfield with McAllister, with maybe Szoboszlai or Gabko playing in there, with maybe Thiago Alcantara still at the club. We're not sure. Now you could be happy with McAllister and Caicedo together to do all the job, and then you can have as many fours as you want. You know that your team is going to be balanced. You know that Caicedo is going to work for 2 or 3 players. And I really think, I know he's young and I know he's never played in Europe, for example, before, but he's an incredible player. And I don't care about the transfer fee, to be fair. You pay what you think your house is worth, your car is worth, and the player is worth. Liverpool are not stupid. If they didn't think he was worth it, they would not have paid that much money. So for me, the transfer fee is not even a debate. It's not even a talking point. It's a wonderful player that they have that makes them already even more competitive and better for the league and for the Champions League.
Sounds like you're a bigger Moises Caicedo fan, Julien. Good to hear that. Well, we've got to talk to you about Kylian Mbappe, who has told PSG, this sounds like a remarkable story, that he won't leave the club under any circumstances whatsoever this summer. I mean, where does it leave him? Where does it leave the club? Surely he has to play this season.
I think, first of all, I think this is an incredible saga we've never seen before. We've seen clubs and players kind of fighting over, I want you to let me go, you don't want to let me, for example, asking for a transfer, putting a transfer request. We've seen all those kind of things. I don't think we've ever seen something like that, where Kylian Mbappe, maybe the best player in the world right now, is punished by his own club, who pays him 75 million euros a year, for not wanting to extend a contract that expires in a year's time. And Kylian wants to run down his contract, like many players have done in the past, and many will do again in the future. And PSG are not having it. And for them to take the decision to not take him on the preseason tour to Japan, not put him in the squad for the game at the weekend in Ligue 1, to say to him, you don't want to renew your contract and you want to run down your contract, you're going to be in the stands for the whole season. You're not even going to play. You're not even going to train with the first team, with the Euros at the end of the season, with PSG in the Champions League, in the league, of course. And Kylian, I mean, this is just, again, unheard of before, never seen before. I don't think Kylian can accept it. I don't think it would be okay not to play a single minute through the whole season. So I expect things to change, but he's very stubborn. I know him well. He's not going to change. He's not going to renew his contract, sign a new one. So PSG will have either to sell him, but right now the only offer they've had was from Saudi Arabia, and Kylian didn't even want to pick up the phone to them. So unless it's Real Madrid and that's the only club he would want to join, he's not going to go anywhere. And if nobody comes for him, then they will have to make a decision, like you said, about either back into the squad and have Luis Enrique using him, or be very, very tough and having the best player in the world sitting in the stands at the Parc des Princes all season.
Wow, mind-blowing. Just lastly, we obviously heard earlier this week that PSG will listen to offers for Neymar this summer. I mean, where do you see his future and what are the options?
I mean, his future for sure is not in Paris anymore, because they've put him in the unwanted squad. So Kylian is in the unwanted squad. Marco Verratti is there. Then you've got players like Gini Wijnaldum, for example, or Julian Draxler, the kind of guys that PSG want to sell and to let go, and who are waiting for offers to come for them. And Neymar will be part of that, which is quite incredible to think of. But this is the situation. They want him to find a new club. We know that Pini Zahavi, his agent, is working hard. Chelsea were interested at some point. Todd Boehly met with Nasser Al-Khelaifi. I don't know if this is still an option for Chelsea. I think they've got other positions to strengthen before that anyway, but maybe Chelsea is still there. Otherwise, you've got Saudi, and for a long time, Neymar was against going to Saudi Arabia. The last couple of days, it seemed that he's slightly opened the door a little bit, and I think PSG would be delighted to, if he was to agree and to go to Saudi Arabia. Same for Marco Verratti. He's got 4 more years on his contract. He earns 36 million euros a year. That's a lot of money. And again, imagine if nobody comes for Neymar, nobody comes for Kylian, nobody comes for Verratti. You've got all those 3 players that you said already, we don't want to play you. You're not going to play for us anymore. And what? They will sit in the stands for the whole season. Their wages combined all together is around 150 million euros a year. It's just absolutely mad when you think about it. But that's the situation that, unfortunately, my club is in right now.
It is mad. Julian, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Some brilliant insight from over in France, and we'll chat to you soon. That is mad to think that Mbappe and Neymar are in an unwanted squad. Right, we are going to chat about West Ham very shortly. But before that, well, the Premier League returns tonight, of course. Next, we're going to be discussing what debuts we can look out for this season. We're also going to recap some of those big transfer stories today. Harry Kane and Moises Caicedo on the move. Right, we've had some huge breaking transfer news this morning. Just a little reminder for you before we get to talking again about Moises Caicedo, like we promised you we would. Harry Kane is leaving for Germany this morning with a medical and the signing of a 4-year contract scheduled by Bayern Munich to take place today. In the last kind of few seconds, Alan Shearer has tweeted, and he's trying to be funny, I think, because he's kind of photoshopped his head onto like a pilot's body with a plane in the background, and he's tweeted saying, "Come on, Harry, it's time to go."
It's good. It's good.
Shearer. It is
Funny you think, that's not very
He's not trying to be funny. He is.
I think he is
trying to be
Brilliant from
funny.
Alan. Sir Alan, that's brilliant.
So it is good for him. Good banter. Right, let's get back to Moises Caicedo then. Liverpool have agreed a British transfer record fee of £111 million with Brighton for the midfielder. Personal terms have been agreed. Caicedo, we understand, will travel to Liverpool today for a medical. A reminder as well, we're going to hear from Jurgen Klopp around about 10 o'clock this morning, so we will, of course, bring that to you as soon as we get it here on Sky Sports News. Harriet, there has been loads of talk throughout the window, certainly the end of last season anyway, about Liverpool needing to improve this midfield, needing to rebuild. They've certainly done that now. Talk us through your starting 11 for their opening game of the season, massive opening game of the season against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge.
Yeah, ironic that it's against Chelsea as well, isn't it? It feels like it couldn't have been written any better. Yeah, there was a lot of talk about this midfield rebuild and whether it was happening quickly enough. Spoken about it last summer, but now finally it feels like we're in a position where that midfield is looking really good. I'll talk through the team. Obviously, Alisson in goal. You've got Trent. This is how we set up from a defensive aspect, because Trent is drifting as an inverted fullback into midfield when we're in possession. Konate on that right-hand side, Van Dijk and Robertson. And then you look at that new midfield combination. Caicedo in that holding number 6 role, anchoring everything together, protecting that defence. New signing Szoboszlai and McAllister as well. And I just love the fact that McAllister and Caicedo are going to be so familiar with each other already. Those link-ups aren't going to take even a second, because they've done that all of last season. They formed such a good partnership last season as well. And then moving into that starting lineup up front with Salah, Gakpo and Diaz, obviously Núñez and Jota, other options in that forward line. Forward line's arguably the area where Liverpool have the most options. So, yeah, that midfield now, a lot of teams will be looking at and thinking that is totally different from what we had at the end of last season. I think even at the start of the transfer window, a lot of Liverpool fans expected that one of Henderson and Fabinho would be still a starting midfielder heading into next season, but Liverpool have said no. You wanted a rebuild, we're giving you a total rebuild. And that is a team for me, and I think we were speaking about this off air as well, that should be challenging at the very top of the Premier League table. Like, top 4 can't be the ambitions when you've spent a lot of money and you are taking big risks and signing, record transfer fees for players. So that has got to be a team that's competing at the very top of the table. And whether they can go toe-to-toe with Manchester City again will remain to be seen. But Liverpool fans will be feeling pretty good about that, I'd hope.
Harriet says pretty good. I mean, we were on the show yesterday with Nabaid, who is, of course, a Liverpool fan as well, and he was saying, look, if Liverpool somehow managed to get Moises Caicedo in, they would have the best midfield in the Premier League, bar none.
And I stopped him and said, that's a bit premature. Don't be silly. And here he is today with Moises Caicedo pretty much in his squad. But having said that, Manchester City will have something to say about that. Arsenal would try and have something to say about that. Exactly. And we need to see how Szoboszlai settles in this league. So there's question marks, but like me and Zach were talking this morning as well, it's definitely up there if that functions to how Klopp wants it to. It's going to be up there. But it's been well documented what Jurgen Klopp said in 2016 when Manchester United signed Paul Pogba. People went back to it when they signed Darwin Núñez, in terms of, he said, the day that this is football, then I'm not in the job anymore. People spending big money on players, and he even said, even if I had that money, I would want to spend it differently. And this is less than an attack on Klopp, but more of a discussion about how the game has changed.
Massively.
I mean, Jurgen Klopp had the best intentions then to do things in a different way. And in the end, he's had to say, if I can't beat them, join them. If you want the best players, if you want the big players, you have to be at the table for it. It's as simple as that.
What I would say on that is that when Liverpool have identified an area of the pitch they want to strengthen in, they have gone after that player. You look at Alisson, he was, for a short period of time, the record fee for a goalkeeper. They identified Virgil van Dijk as a defender. They paid a lot more than a lot of people were expecting for him, and people were questioning that at the time. And then obviously Darwin Núñez, they were looking for a striker. They paid 64 million, rising potentially to 85 million with add-ons for him. So if there is an area of a pitch that Liverpool are looking at and thinking, we want a particular player, we know who we want, and we know it's an area we need to strengthen in, then they have got evidence they have spent big for players in the past. It is usually, though, one player per window, one big signing, one big transfer fee per window. And that's maybe where this window differs, because there has been now 3 signings potentially in that midfield area. But it was completely necessary because Thiago was the last permanent signing for Liverpool in that midfield area. They needed that refresh, and so they've gone and done it.
I mean, the market's just changed, though, massively nowadays. Like, as I said earlier, I think genuinely, after obviously a fantastic season at that if it wasn't with the inflation of the market and where we are right now, I think Caicedo would probably be going for around 60 to 70. But when you are seeing the likes of Declan Rice, when you have seen what's happened to Enzo Fernandez and other transfers too, Brighton have every right to ask for that kind of fee, and they've done exceptionally well in doing so. And so, yeah, with the way the market is now, it's I think for a lot of Liverpool fans, there were maybe doubts about what they were doing in this market, and they've done very, very well.
Oh, sorry, that was loud, wasn't it?
Liverpool fans this morning.
We're rightly so talking about Liverpool getting this player. We're rightly so, not laughing at Chelsea, but
No.
looking at Chelsea and saying they've missed out. Chelsea did this with Mikhailo Mudryk. With Arsenal, they missed
exactly.
it. Now
Chelsea
it's
done
happening
it
to
many
them.
times. Willian and Spurs.
It happens. Brighton and Hove Albion Football Club, Tony Bloom.
Yeah.
Everyone on this table and everyone in the football community should just applaud. Should just applaud, because in the last transfer window, I was here when they were rejecting bids for Moises Caicedo with Arsenal, saying, what are they on about? 60, 70 million for Moises Caicedo. He's played about 19 Premier League games by this time. How on earth are they going to do that? You look at the players that they've sold at their discretion as well, where they don't move. Marc Cucurella, look how long that took. Alexis McAllister, Ben White, Bissouma, Trossard, Robert Sanchez now. They do things on their terms and on their terms only. And this is a player, like you said earlier, Emma, they bought for 4-point-something million only a couple of years ago. So for Brighton to keep doing this, and then you add Graham Potter into that as well,
and his staff
and his staff, the compensation package that Chelsea would have had to pay. And look, that's not even a thing anymore. He doesn't even have a job. But the money lives on that Brighton are recouping for players, managers, and they keep going. The biggest question is how long can Brighton keep this up for, etc., etc. But De Zerbi comes in.
At one point,
he's got the next batch going already.
Yeah.
They're in Europe. Yeah. So Brighton and Hove Albion Football Club, you have to say their full name. Don't just say Brighton. their full name. Even if you want to put PLC, TM afterwards, it doesn't matter. They need every bit of respect because they deserve it.
Just a little bit of news to bring you, actually. Dharma Sheth has just sent me an email saying Moises Caicedo and his representatives are currently in London and are expected to travel up to Liverpool shortly. Medical due to start later today.
In London, going to go north, Zach, yeah?
Yes. I'm going north later on. We'll all be on the train together,
Right, very, very briefly, the Premier League is, of course, back tonight, and everyone is extremely excited, as we should be. Bring it on. The team have picked out a debut 11. Just to kind of caveat this, these are players who have moved clubs this summer or signed to the Premier League for the first time. Some of them might be injured, yes. We're not saying they could start tonight or tomorrow or Sunday, but they're players who have signed for clubs in the Premier League this summer. So, Flex, take us away with the goalkeeper. That was obvious, wasn't it? It's got to be an
Andre Onana, it's massive. There's been a lot of goalkeepers moving this summer, but a massive one for Manchester United, complete polar opposite to David De Gea. So, yeah, massive to have him in there as well.
Yep. Let's move on to defence. I felt like you were all pretty... The thing is, some of it was actually quite hard to call, wasn't it? Because there are so many players who haven't moved.
There's so many.
But there were some that you're like, Gvardiol already...
Yeah.
There was a few players that were like definite certainties. Gvardiol, Rice in there as well. Timber looked really good in the Community Shield, a really clever signing for Arsenal. Pau Torres, Sarsi as well. I think you have to give credit to Aston Villa and the work they've done in this transfer window. Incredible. Seriously impressive. That looks like a great team, can I just say? I think definitely in that...
Can that win the league?
That might win the league, yeah.
Right.
Declan Rice.
Harriet, is it all right?
Declan Rice are going to be signing this summer. McAllister missed out there. Mount. There were so many names in that midfield area we couldn't select. And you want to talk us through the forward options?
Nkunku, Højlund, Diaby. I mean, Diaby, Højlund, Nkunku probably the switched around. But yeah, no, highly impressive. A lot of money as well. A lot of money that squad would have cost too.
Yeah. It would. We've obviously put Højlund in there, but we know he's... same with Nkunku, to be fair, as well. Right, a little reminder for you. Who knows what will have happened over the weekend, but Good Morning Transfers returns 9 o'clock Monday morning here on Sky Sports News. We will be back a little bit later on, midday, for Transfer Talk, and you can catch the Transfer Show at 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock this evening.